Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of conflicts or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. First of all, I need to solicit your prayers because I'm at my father's house and this internet is like shaking. Okay. So we're just going to hope that this lasts throughout this live. I don't anticipate it being a long live, but you know, that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. Somebody is going to come up with a question. I'm going to feel like I need to answer it. We're going to go all the way to the right, and then I might be here longer than anticipated. So we just don't pray that this internet here works out. All right. And excuse the lighting. You know, I had to get where I could because I wanted to be downstairs. Nobody was really talking. But then when I said I was going to go live, then everybody kind of started talking. So I had to go find another space in the house. And this was the best space to go to. But anyway, if you are new here, welcome. If you have been here before and you continue to follow and subscribe and like, thank you so much and welcome back. I hope you guys had a fantabulous holiday. For those of you that celebrate, and also those, I know that it's a tough time for a lot of people. And I pray that you all found peace and strength in this time. Because as you get older, as many of you guys know, sometimes the holidays start looking different as you get older and you have to build more traditions and you have to shift. And it can be very difficult, especially when you have loved ones that were here last year that ain't here this year. But we just, we just try to get through it, because we know that grief is the price that you pay for love. So we just thank God that we were able to experience that type of love that some of our loved ones has given us and that we have been able to give back, because some people left here and they've never experienced that. And the wisdom, like we were down there talking about my grandmother and the different things that she's even taught and how we still carry on and just how much of a gift and a blessing it is. So we have to hold on to that. And I send my love to you if that's what you're going through, because I have a lot of my friends that are going through that this season. So with all that being said, you guys know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Thank you guys so much for your continuous support. I cannot thank you guys enough. We are here because we have been following this Jay-Z saga. As you guys know, Jay-Z was added to one of the Diddy complaints. And there were some allegations of a 13-year-old who is alleging that she was essayed by Jay-Z, Diddy, and a celebrity B, which we don't know, which is supposed to be a woman. Well, what had happened was initially, I'm just going to give a brief summary, but I hope that you guys go back to the videos where I talked about this so you can get a thorough explanation. But in sum, apparently, Tony Busby, who is representing many of people that are alleging that Diddy had essayed them or inappropriate contact with them against their will, he sent Jay-Z's attorney a demand letter and said, listen, someone came to me and said you were a part of an essay, you and another woman. And so we want to do a mediation. And in order to resolve this, so we don't have to name you Celebrity A as you were, as what is in the complaint right now. And Jay-Z's turned around and said, listen, I ain't never did nothing you talking about. This is straight up extortion. You're a scumbag. All these different names, and then sued Busby in California Superior Court and State Court under a John Doe. Many were speculating on who John Doe was. Lo and behold, within a week of this John Doe suing Busby and his firm, he amended the complaint, he being Busby, the complaint that had Diddy's name on it, and said, you know what, Jay-Z, you're Celebrity B. So then we had Jay-Z added to the complaint. Since that complaint filing, there has been a lot of paperwork back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Jay-Z, his attorney, has been on this campaign. Jay-Z has made statements as well, and he usually doesn't even respond to certain things in the media. So we've heard him be vocal a little bit more than we ever have. But, you know, these type of allegations, he felt like he had to say something. And so what he did was he did a statement, and you can go to Rock Nation where all those statements are. But his attorney did a press conference at Rock Nation, and he actually did a whole PowerPoint on how this young lady, who is anonymous, and she did an interview anonymously. They didn't show her face, and everything was disguised. Her voice was disguised, changed. And a lot of the things, the math just was not mathing. And so his attorney, after watching that, filed a motion trying to dismiss the case. Just was paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. Didn't like the attorney, and they going back and forth, try to say they're doing a Rule 11 sanctions. Just a lot of stuff going on. And Busby simply responded and said, the way that Jay-Z's attorney was utilized in the courts was inappropriate. You're talking about following rules. You ain't following the rules. It's pretty much what he said. He gave very brief and concise, and said at the appropriate time, I'll address everything. But the way you're going at it, trying to go hard in the paint, this is not how we do it in this legal system. And you know that. And so it seems that the court is agreeing with Busby on this filing that has occurred today. It's 600 of you guys in here already. So what I want you to do is hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. So that's what we're going to get into. Hopefully you guys are caught up. Again, I advise that you would go to the other videos. I'll try to link them at the end so that you can go back and you can have an easy reference to the videos that we have done, so we can do it so that you'll be able to keep in the order, because I know that many of you guys are busy and you don't catch all the lives. Some of you don't get notifications, but I don't want you to get on these videos and you like, what is she even talking about right there? Even though I appreciate you guys supporting anyway, I want you guys to be able to engage substantively, because you know the whole backstory. So that is the backstory of what is going on. So 504 said, Tory Daddy told y'all Rock Nation was gonna crumble. You know, the Tory Lane situation, I'm going to get on that right quick since you brought it up, 504. You guys know that was the first case I covered, boots on the ground, where I flew to California for those 2 weeks, got stranded, had to spend Christmas that year in California, which was cool because the weather was way better than Michigan. Nonetheless, that case, they kept saying it was Rock Nation. However, the issue was there was literally no evidence, no witnesses or anybody that even would get on the stand and say Rock Nation wanted Tory. And that's what I kept saying. Why isn't there anybody on here to say they even approached this man? And you know, it was like a conspiracy theory is what it was, is what it sounded like. And even when his attorney talked about it, it felt like a conspiracy theory because I had never heard all this Rock Nation, these allegations. And it just felt like a conspiracy. Like they kept saying that even when his father did the outburst, when Tory was sentenced to all that time, and his father went all off, or not, that wasn't the sentencing. Was it the sentencing? I don't know if it was the sentencing or the verdict, whatever. His dad got, I think it was the verdict, because his dad went in, okay, went off on everybody, told everybody y'all's all put from the pits of hell, or whatever he was saying. But he talked about Rock Nation, and he did a whole press conference after the fact outside and was blaming Rock Nation. So yeah, Rock Nation has been accused of some things, but again, there was no evidence in that Tory case, but or that was presented. as admissible evidence. People was just saying it like, and what we say as attorneys, it's a jury instruction that it is not evidence. Like our theories are not evidence. You can take it and believe and sway in the way that we say that it is, but you need to be able to have evidence to corroborate what I'm saying as an attorney. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. Let me see what else. Crystal said, thank you for acknowledging some of us are dealing with loss of loved ones that's no longer with us. Much appreciation. Of course. K-Stay Bell. I done said Crystal, K-Stay Bell. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for your loss. And we here. The intellects are here to support you. And hopefully you can find a little bit of joy, gathering with us on this live. This is what we are here for. TV Fanatic said, I personally don't think it is fair people that accuse someone of something get to stay anonymous. And a lot of people feel the way that you feel. A lot of people do feel the way you feel, but do you think that kind of these tactics of them going back and forth, maybe, and we'll read because I only glanced over to see what the outcome was so I could do my little title. That was it. Maybe the aggressiveness going back and forth made the judge feel like, hey, maybe they should remain anonymous, but it's only for a time. At this early stage, as you'll see, I'm sure the judge will say, typically they will allow you to be anonymous and then they will revisit it. So it can be revisited. Jay-Z's attorney want the person to be revealed now. And some people may say that it was to maybe deter her from wanting to continue. Because if you want to be anonymous, then there are people that will say, well, if I got to identify myself, I'm not going to want to go forward. And maybe that may have been one of the reasons why. Again, it's speculation as to why you will want to do it in an early stage. But again, once litigation happens, of course, he's going to be able to know who the person is. It's just every time a motion is filed and a deposition of this young lady is attached, it has to be redacted. And we as the public will not be able to get that information because it will be under seal. So they just have to keep everything in an anonymous state until the court says otherwise. Linda said, happy first day of the 7 days of Kwanzaa. Yes. Okay. Of course. All right, let's get into it because I'll be talking to you guys for days. It's like sitting in the living room by the fire telling stories. You know how we get over here. We're all family. All right, let's get started. So this order was filed by the judge today. And by the tone that I saw, I said, yeah, the judge wasn't too thrilled about how this thing went. So this is the order. This is in the Jane Doe versus Sean Combs. And you see Sean Carter is the last person named. So it has plaintiff Jane Doe filed this action on October 20th, 2024, alleging violation of the New York City Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act. By order dated November 6th, the court provisionally granted plaintiff motion to proceed anonymously, explaining that defendants had yet to appear in the matter and that the balance of interest weighing for or against anonymity may shift as her suit continues. So basically, when the original case was filed, which was October 20, 2024, remember Jay-Z was not a part of that. It was just Diddy and celebrity A and B were mentioned in the complaint, but we had no clue who these celebrities were. So at that time, the court said, provisionally for now, we're allow it because you don't even have a defendant in this case. And once they actually enter an appearance and this case goes forward, then they can file a motion as to whether they oppose to them being anonymous. So it was just for now, you can be anonymous until further notice. So then what had happened was on December 8th, 2024, the plaintiff amended her complaint to add Sean Carter, known professionally as Jay-Z, as a defendant. And so plaintiff again sought leave to proceed anonymously, but this time Carter's counsel appeared and moved to deny her motion, or in the alternative, to dismiss her amended complaint pursuant to Federal Civil Procedures 12B1. Carter also moved for an expedited hearing on the issue. The next day, Carter's attorney filed a letter containing a declaration from an associate at his law firm recounting a phone conversation she had with an unnamed woman who claimed that plaintiff's counsel encouraged her to lie about her experience of SA. Carter's lawyer asked the court to consider this additional information in connection with plaintiff's motion to proceed anonymously. Plaintiff's counsel denied Carter's allegation against him. On December 13th, 2024, Carter's attorney filed an additional letter alerting the court to a recently published interview of plaintiff on NBC News. So Jane Doe did this anonymous interview on NBC News. And in the interview, plaintiff, speaking anonymously, explained her allegations against defendant and her reasons for coming forward now. Carter's lawyer points to the interview in which plaintiff admitted to inconsistencies in her story as evidence that plaintiff's claims have, quote, no factual basis whatsoever. He also argues that plaintiff's counsel violated Federal Rules of Civil Procedures 11B by, quote, failing to undertake a reasonable inquiry into the facts before filing the complaint, end quote, and failing to seek admission pro hoc vice to the court. So remember, one of the other allegations was that you're signing your name on this. However, you haven't even sought admission into the court. Now, from my understanding, Busby is admitted in New York. He's admitted to their state bar, from my understanding. He is also admitted in the Eastern District of New York. However, this is filed in the Southern District, so you do have to get admitted in the Southern District, which I'm assuming they have reciprocity. So it wouldn't be much for him to probably do his admission. But nonetheless, Busby was able to find that he wasn't admitted in the Southern District. And even though he had local counsel on the pleading, what Jay-Z's attorney was alleging is that he was the primary attorney, but he's not even admitted to practice in this court. So, Carter's attorney requested an expedited briefing schedule for a motion to strike the first amended complaint under Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 11C2 and 12F. The next day, Carter's counsel submitted yet another filing. When they said yet another filing, I said this court might go off a little bit later on in this little order. It's like yet another filing. A motion for an emergency order directing the preservation of evidence and striking the amended complaint under Rule 12F. So now the court is going to go to what they consider on a motion to proceed anonymously. In deciding whether a plaintiff may proceed anonymously, courts balance the plaintiff's interest in anonymity against both the public interest in disclosure and any prejudice to the defendant. And that's in sealed plaintiff versus sealed defendant, which is the Second Circuit case. The Second Circuit has laid out a non-exhaustive list of factors to be considered. So we talked about that before, where when you have, that what the courts will do is if there's factors, then you apply your facts to the factors, and we have the scales of justice to see where it falls, which weighs the heaviest, which weight on this side, which weight on this side. So the first one is whether the litigation involves matter that are highly sensitive and of a personal nature. The second factor is whether identification poses a risk of retaliatory physical or mental harm to the party seeking to proceed anonymously, or even more critically, to innocent non-parties. The third factor the court is going to decide is whether identifications represents other harms and the likely severity of those harms, including whether the injury litigated against would be incurred as a result of the disclosure of the plaintiff's identity. The fourth factor is whether the plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harm of disclosure, particularly in light of her age. The fifth factor is whether the suit is challenging the actions of the government or that of a private party. The sixth is whether the defendant is prejudiced by allowing the plaintiff to press her claims anonymously, whether the nature of that prejudice, if any, differs at any particular stage of the litigation, and whether any prejudice can be mitigated by the district court. The seventh factor is whether the plaintiff's identity has thus far been kept confidential. And the eighth is whether the public's interest in litigation is furthered by requiring the plaintiff to disclose identity. The ninth factor is whether, because of the purely legal nature of the issues presented or otherwise, there's any atypical weak public interest in knowing the litigants' identities. And the 10th factor the court is going to consider in making this decision is whether there are any alternative mechanisms for protecting the confidentiality of the plaintiff. A court is not required to list each of the factors or use any particular formulation as long as it is clear that the court balanced the interests at stake in reaching its conclusion. Here, the weight of the factor tips in favor of allowing plaintiff to remain anonymous, at least for this stage of litigation. So they're saying for now, when the court weighed the factors that it found relevant, it said that it is more so to allow them to allow her to remain anonymous. So they say factors 1, 2, 4, and 7. So 1, 2, 4, and 7, whether the litigation involves matters that are highly sensitive, whether identification poses a risk of retaliatory physical or mental harm to the party. They said number 4 as well, whether the plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harms of disclosure, particularly in light of her age. And 7, whether the plaintiff's identity has thus far been kept confidential. So the court is saying all 4 of those factors weigh in favor of the plaintiff remaining anonymous. In her amended complaint, plaintiff alleges that defendant drugged and essayed her when she was only 13. Courts in this district have recognized that allegations concerning sexual assault are highly sensitive and of an extremely personal nature. Plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harms of disclosure. According to her amended complaint, she continues to experience depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a seizure disorder associated with the stress of her essay. Moreover, plaintiff's counsel asserts that many of his other clients who have filed similar lawsuits against Sean Combs claims to have been threatened by Mr. Combs for their decision to speak out. And finally, although plaintiff sat for an interview with NBC News concerning her case, NBC allowed her to conduct the interview anonymously. So all those factors, the facts the court placed with those factors 1, 2, 4, and 7 is saying they weigh on the side of the plaintiff. Granted, several factors weigh against allowing plaintiff to proceed anonymously. Plaintiff is challenging the actions of private parties, not the government. So he's saying this goes against the plaintiff. And given the media attention surrounding this case, the public has a substantial interest in this litigation, separate and apart from his general interest in an accused being able to publicly confront its accuser. Alternative mechanisms may exist to protect confidentiality, namely the redaction and sealing of documents. That's number 3. Most importantly, plaintiffs continue being anonymous may cause prejudice to defendants, making it more difficult for them to collect the facts necessary to mount a defense and, as appropriate, challenge plaintiff's credibility. That sounds like 4 of them is weighing in the favor. The court does not take such prejudice lightly. Nevertheless, at this exceeding early stage in this case, the factors counseling against disclosure outweigh those that counsel in favor. And then they have a case, Doe v. Delta, which required the plaintiff to identify herself as the case approached the trial. So basically, they cited a case that said, for now, you don't have to identify yourself, but the closer we get to trial, you're going to have to identify yourself. And typically at trial, because I think that may have happened with one of the Donald Trump cases, that she had to identify herself as the litigation progressed more towards trial, if I recall correctly. Accordingly, plaintiff's motion to proceed anonymously is granted. Plaintiff is advised that because the balance of these factors will certainly shift as the case proceeds, especially if and when the parties engage in discovery in earnest, the court intends to revisit this decision at a future date. So the court kind of basically, to me, sounds like they plan on eventually she's gonna have to say who she is on these pleadings. Is what it sounds like, and basically allowing the plaintiff to brace yourself and be aware that you're going to end up having to do to identify yourself. The Violet girl said, according to a couple of high schoolers, there are high school boys near or 18. Oh my goodness. Okay. Cassandra said, if you sue as Jane or John Doe, then the accused should remain Doe till proven guilty. Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying if you get to be anonymous, then the accused should be able to be anonymous too, because it's hard to come back from these type of allegations. If we, for example, say that, just say by some, fluke or whatever, Diddy literally beats every single case filed against him. Do you really think Diddy's reputation will ever be back to where it is? I think it's a high probability that it wouldn't go back to what it is. So that is a very interesting concept. I've never really entertained or thought of that. That's why I love it over here. Shauna said, love the channel. Thank you so much for the super chat. Make sure you hit your like button on the way in. That is very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. My son says, I agree. All right. So that's the anonymous. The court has granted Jane Doe to allow to continue anonymous. And then, of course, as this intellect just said, Sean Carter's going to still have to windmill out here and try to protect his reputation. That's all he can do right now. Try to salvage it as much as he can. Okay, then the remaining motions. This is when the court gonna get real jiggy with it and and let you know how they feel about all this stuff being filed. Since Carter's attorney first appeared in this case 17 days ago, he has submitted a litany of letters in motion attempting to impinge upon the nature of plaintiff's lawyer, many of them expounding on the purported, quote, urgency of this case. And so then it has in parens describing plaintiff's counsel as self-promoting and accusing him of extortion. And then another ECF in one of the documents, the court is quoting, requesting to be heard, quote, on an expedited basis, end quote, and accusing plaintiff's counsel of, quote, exploiting the legal process to generate media attention, end quote. Another document quoted by the court is asserting that plaintiff's counsel, quote, seeks only to benefit himself, end quote. Another quote by the court is requesting the shortening of a deadline, quote, from 21 days to 1 day, end quote. Another quote from a document is describing plaintiff's counsel as willing to, quote, blatantly violate the court ethical obligations of all attorneys, end quote, and requesting a hearing on a motion the following day. Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. So basically, the court said, we understand, Jay-Z, that you're saying all this stuff about who you are and you met your match and your attorney, you met your match. I'm not the one or the two. The court was like, yeah, this type of tactics, we don't condone and we don't tolerate over here. The court will not fast track the judicial process merely because you want it to. We understand who you think you are. Okay? But when it comes to this here system, you're not exactly who you think that you are, because we run this up in here and we have rules and regulations. All right. So you can't make us move no faster. All right. You're not special up in here. You might be special out there. You might curry favors out there, but in this here judicial system, you just like everybody else. You're just a litigant. That's it. That's all. Tay said the court said don't file not a nan other fast finger motion. Pretty much. That is a good way to say it. Please hit that like button, y'all. Elite Leo said, what? I heard Busby's letter and it was just as inflammatory. So the judge has no smoke for Busby as his tactics, only Spiro. So let me tell you the difference, Elite Leo. The difference was once that amendment happened on Sunday, naming Jay-Z, I told you guys, we went live every day. And you know, I don't go live like that. He was filing something every day. He's actually asking for motions. Like he's a lot of stuff Busby was responding to as it pertained to this case, but these were requests. He was filing motions, as you see, like back to back to back, and asking to dismiss the case because she said it was inconsistencies. Well, every case does have some form of inconsistencies. It does. But honestly, the best approach may have been, but see, these attorneys clearly can't stand each other. That's real obvious. The best approach can be like, listen, you know it's ruined the reputation of my client. I'm talking about behind the scenes. Can you just go ahead and dismiss this case? I'm gonna give you time to investigate. Is that fair? And if you see what I see, then can you just dismiss my client from this case? Or give the attorney the opportunity to say, maybe this ain't a case that I want to take it off. But when you like do this in almost a bullying tactic, I think that made Busby, even if he was considering it, he's not. Because you got to look at it. Since he filed this against Jay-Z, there have been, 3 lawsuits filed against Busby? So, well, really 4, because you had Jay-Z filed one against Busby and his firm. You had two or three different people said something about misappropriation of funds, which is a big no-no when it comes to lawyers. That's an automatic bar review. So you had a couple of people talking about, suing him for that over in Louisiana. Then you had a young lady who was claiming in California, no, it's in New York. She's claiming that she had a relationship with him. He was handling her, I think, family law case, and he gave her something. He gave her an STD of some sort, and that she's suing him for that. It's just weird. It's just the whole thing, all of this stuff happening back to back against Busby once this was filed. If he was thinking about dismissing Jay-Z, I think it would have made him be like, yeah, no, I'll just take my chances to see if it gets dismissed. And so that's what it sounds like is happening here. Dang, Barbara Brown, goodness. And Spiro talked about Busby like a dog, did everything but talked about the man mama. He did. That he did. Then it was alleged investigators. So Busby, in turn, has sued Rock Nation and another attorney over there in Texas, alleging that, and I don't think I went over that. I might have to pull that up. Alleging that Rock Nation sent some investigators to try. So basically, they sent investigators, according to him, to try to find people to file lawsuits against Busby once he named Jay-Z in the complaint. So it's just a lot going on here on both sides, Let me see what is this? Diddy. But we can go over that in a minute when I finish this. Yeah, against Rock Nation. We might have went over it already. I think I may have. D-Doc said the lawyer name is pronounced Spiro. Okay. All right. I thought it was Spiro. Okay. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. You said we touched on it. Okay. Yeah, it's over 1,000 of you in here. Make sure you hit the like for me. I appreciate that. My mom's going to be on you about hitting that like button. So let's go on with the rest of this document. Moreover, although Carter's attorney assails plaintiff's lawyer as having a, quote, chronic inability to follow the rules, end quote, So that's what Carter's attorney alleges, that the plaintiff's attorney, Busby, doesn't know how to follow the rules. He said the court says Carter's counsel has failed to abide by this court's clear rules. Under the court's individual practices in civil cases, and with limited exceptions, quote, a pre-motion letter is required prior to filing of any motion. So you should have did a pre-motion before you even filed your motions that you're filing. And that's under their rules. Although Carter's attorney stated that he intended to file immediately a motion to strike the first amended complaint under Rule 12F, he did not give plaintiff the requisite 5 business days to respond. So that they said, see the practices, and they're like alerting you to how this court does the practices when it comes to striking. Wait for the court to set a motion schedule or state whether any exception to the court's individual practices apply. This is unacceptable. And then they have a footnote that says, on the merits, Carter's motion to strike is denied. Motions to strike under Rule 12F, quote, are generally disfavored and will be granted, quote, only if there's strong reason to do so. And that's in Abdu v. Walker. Carter's motion, which is summarily asserts that plaintiff's claims are, quote, baseless and salacious, does not clear that high burden. So basically, it's unacceptable. But anyway, we deny that too. Counsel is hereby advised that any further motions filed in violation of the court's individual practices may be denied on that ground alone. So you keep violating rules, we just gonna deny it anyway. So learn our rules. Lastly, although Carter's attorney is entitled to file a Rule 11 motion without first seeking leave of court, see the individual practices, the court discourages this approach. If he still intends to serve plaintiffs with a motion for sanctions, the court denies his request to shorten the safe harbor provision contained within Rule 11C2 from 21 days to 1 day. So remember, we went over that when Carter's attorney filed his, basically told the court that he filed a Rule 11. Remember, I said you have to serve it and then wait 21 days to file it, because then you have the attorney can mull over it, investigate, and figure out do they want to continue, or if there's merit to this Rule 11, asking for sanctions, and dismiss the case on their own within 21 days, which is a safe harbor. This is how you had Blackburn that was able to pretty much avoid sanctions in the case against Diddy and UMG and Lucius Grange, because he withdrew within the 21 days and said, you know what, I have no legal basis. My facts, I'm not going to say my facts were erroneous, but I have no legal basis. So that was pretty much what happened there. So the court, so what Jay-Z's attorney did was, again, trying to accelerate the rules and say, well, he shouldn't get a 21-day safe harbor. Just give him 1 day. He had no authority for it. He just said he want 1 day. He shouldn't get 21 days because he wants it dismissed right now. So then he has Carter's motion to strike the amended complaint under Rule 12F is denied. By January 10th, 2025, plaintiff shall file her responsive to Carter's motion for an order directing the preservation of evidence. By January 17th, Carter shall file his reply, if any. So that's it. So all of that motion filing looks like he needs to go ahead and file an answer. He's going to have to Carter's going to have to litigate this case. That's just what it is. So trust me, Tony Busby ain't worried about Jay-Z and his lawyer. This guy is suing BlackRock and Vanguard. He's just a small fish compared to them. Busby's had some big cases and he's been successful in some cases, but I mean that 1-800, the 1-800 number for Diddy was a bit much. I was like, okay. And then some of his cases, reading him, the fact that Busby was like, well, I'm not the one that vetted them. It was another attorney that vetted them. It was, I don't know about that. But he has prevailed in certain big cases. He's known for that. I've looked at some of the cases he's won. And then you have some people, obviously, that have filed these lawsuits that have complaints against him as well. So that's it. So it's 1,200 of you guys watching and I only got 600 likes though. Tell me that's not true. I need you guys to hit the like button so we can make sure we're in the algorithm. The judge has let her ego get involved, in my opinion. That's from P. So you think that there was some legitimacy to what Jay-Z's attorney was doing, but now the judge is just what? You not gonna run my court? Telling me you're not gonna tell me to go faster than I gotta go. Who you think you are? This is my court. I run my docket. Well, child, that's every ego then, because every judge will tell you that. The rules tell you in most jurisdictions that the court can run their court and their dockets the way they see fit. And they don't got to give you exceptions. They don't have to give you favors. That's the rules. So everyone is expected to abide by the rules, and nobody should be able to get favors because of who you are. That's pretty much what it is. When we go into the judicial system, it's supposed to be a equal playing ground. Even though you always, like in this case, you may have people that have more money than others. So they have 5 attorneys, and they have more. They can paperwork you to death, and they can afford to litigate for years or not decades almost. But at the end of the day, we all are required to abide by the exact same rules. Lady Tonya said Jay-Z got a reality check. Well, that's what the court said. That's what they said. So this was the let me see. Is that it? I'm trying to see if I could. This was what Busby has filed against the law firms. So Marcy Brian Croft from Rock Nation, MJ Legal, Jessica Santiago, Quinn Emanuel, which is the law firm of which represents Jay-Z. And they're basically saying they filed this petition against these defendants. Defendants have conspired to obstruct justice by engaging shadowy operatives to illegally seek out more than 24 current and former clients of the Busby law firm to convince those clients to bring frivolous cases against the Busby law firm. Defendant Rock Nation is financing the efforts. Its attorneys, Marcy Croft and Quinn Emanuel, are orchestrating the efforts. In some cases, defendants' agents pretend to work for the state of Texas and have flashed fake badges. Soliciting clients is a crime in the state of Texas. Paying individuals to file false claims is unethical and criminal in the state of Texas. Impersonating a state official is a crime. In at least one case, defendant agents offered as much as $10,000 to a former client of the Busby law firm to sue the firm. Unfortunately for the defendants, their agents are not very smart or careful. Their agents were caught on audio tape, red-handed, not knowing they were being recorded. Defendants' agents admitted that defendant Marcy Croft, a licensed Texas lawyer and member of Team Rock, was orchestrating the efforts. And in another recording, these agents described the criminal conspiracy in great detail, going so far to admit that the lawsuit would be in the press and that some former clients had already accepted money to join the efforts. Rock Nation and Jay-Z are synonymous. Jay-Z is founder and chairman of Rock Nation. At the same time, the illegal conduct described herein continues. The Busby law firm is pursuing claims on behalf of at least one client against Jay-Z in New York federal court. And as a result of the client's claims, Jay-Z sued the Busby law firm in Los Angeles State Court. Defendant Quinn Emanuel, who represents Jay-Z in both cases and who also frequently represents Rock Nation, denied in open court and in the press involvement in the scheme described herein. That denial was a bold-faced lie in all caps. So they wanted you guys to be yelled at right there. The illegal effort described here, which Rock Nation is funding and defendant Croft and defendant Quinn Emanuel are orchestrating, is intended to interfere with the Busby law firm's ability to represent its clients and offer pertinent evidence to authorities. Defendant's scheme is summarized in the following recording transcript. So they attached a bunch of transcripts because one of the clients, I think, recorded it. And they said, what we're trying to do is we are trying to put this thing together for the company that we're working for. We could get you paid. You could get money right soon, you know. We gave this kid $1,000 to start yesterday just to get him on the right path. At the end of the day, this is going to go through the courts. Busby is getting sued. As part of their scheme, defendants attempted to use the plaintiff herein as a pawn. On behalf of defendant Marcy Croft, that's a lawyer that I think is licensed in Texas, but I think she has like a firm in Louisiana. On the behalf of defendant Marcy Croft, two individuals approached the plaintiff. They were pushy. They told him he had to talk to them because they were with the state. They told him that they were putting together a lawsuit on behalf of defendant Marcy Croft and the company she was working for, and that she would assign his case to someone who could get him a lot of money. Thankfully, rather than going along with the illegal efforts, the plaintiff recorded them instead. He now filed suit both for Barratry, both a crime and civil action in the state, I think it meant in the state of Texas. This is just one of multiple cases to be filed by plaintiffs who have been illegally solicited by investigators working as part of a cabal headquartered in New York City. Defendants have a long history of the type of abusive and egregious conduct described herein. Because they have gotten away with it for so long, defendants think they can come down to Texas and do whatever they choose with impunity. They are wrong. Their behavior will have consequences both civilly and criminally. So they got one of the people that was allegedly approached by investigators hired by Roc Nation to actually sue them for trying to solicit them for this information. It's just a lot going on here, guys. Just a lot going on. And then you see what they're suing them for. Let me see. Of course, they put the parties. And then Marcy, she's done posts. So they use posts to show the connection with Jay-Z. So she had a post. It's an honor and privilege to work on such a worthy cause. And they have Myron Marvel Bradley. Because somebody's asking me about this. And Roc Nation, they filed suit on behalf of mistreatment of inmates over inhumane conditions at Parchman Prison. And so she was a part of this effort. But it sounds like she has her own firm, though. She just gets hired. Sometimes you have people that are called of counsel where they're not really a part of your firm, but sometimes that's the people you connect with or partner with when you need more attorneys. So they have another Instagram post that says, "Amazing work. We are very proud to be a small part of the great team. Thank you, Roc Nation and Team Roc, for all that you do." So they're using this just to show evidence she works for Roc Nation. And then it has the official and only law firms in Mississippi authorized by Team Roc to handle matters of Mississippi prison reform. Thanks at Team Roc. We appreciate everything you're doing to help Mississippi. So then they have the evidence that they have. The filing is supporting by the following evidence: a transcript of defendant Jessica Santiago and Gerardo Garcia, transcript of defendant's agent Skylar Taylor, affidavit of Skylar Taylor, and the affidavit of Shannon Champagne. So the facts are: on behalf of two clients, Tony Busby and the Busby law firm sent demand letters to Sean Jay-Z. Okay, so they're going to get into some of the background of how this tit for tat started happening and this tug of war they've been having. So for those of you that are unaware, this will shortly brief you as I did in the beginning of the video. So if you just came in and you didn't catch me in the beginning, give a summary. This is it. On behalf of two clients, Tony Busby and the Busby law firm sent demand letters. So I guess, it was two clients. Sent demand letters to Sean Jay-Z Carter's attorneys in New York. The letters made no monetary demand. They only sought a confidential sit-down to discuss the client's allegations. In response to the two letters, defendant Quinn Emanuel filed suit against the Busby law firm. That suit alleged that the firm was trying to extort Sean Jay-Z Carter. That lawsuit was and is frivolous and will be dismissed. Several weeks later, the Busby law firm, on behalf of one of the clients who sent a demand letter, filed a lawsuit against Mr. Carter. At or around that time, defendant's conspiracy began. As part of that conspiracy, current and former clients of the Busby law firm began receiving solicitations from investigators asking current and former clients to sue the firm. The investigators used burner phones. Many times, the investigators use fake names or flash badges or credentials, but would not let the clients see them. During some of the contacts, the investigators were pushy, and in at least two, they pretended to be acting on behalf of the state of Texas. Several of these calls were caught on either camera or tape. In each instance, the investigators were careful not to disclose on whose behalf they were working. For good reason. The defendants in this case did not want to disclose their participation in the flagrant violation of Texas law. Indeed, these defendants openly and brazenly violated Texas criminal laws dozens of times. One such target of defendant solicitation was plaintiff Geraldo Garcia. Mr. Garcia is a resident of Harris County. He was injured in Jones Act lawsuit and hired the Busby law firm to represent him. His case was settled in 2020. He was happy with the resolution of his case and had no complaints with the Busby law firm. Nearly 5 years later, after his case was resolved, not seeking to hire a lawyer to file a lawsuit, Mr. Garcia was contacted out of the blue by two, quote, investigators. This contact was an illegal solicitation that was made on behalf of and as part of a conspiracy involving defendants Croft, Rock Nation, and Quinn Emanuel. One of these investigators identified herself as Jessica Santiago. These two investigators approached Mr. Garcia at his home and flashed a badge. They told plaintiff Garcia several times that they were from the state. They asked Mr. Garcia if he was unhappy with the settlement from 2020 and whether they could see the settlement documents. They were pushy. They followed this up by explaining to him that they were with the state but could connect with him with a private lawyer so he could sue the Busby law firm. They told Garcia several times that there was, quote, money in this for you. These investigators' requests became increasingly aggressive and hostile. At some point, defendants' agents demanded Mr. Garcia produce his medical records and offered him money to hire the private lawyer to sue the Busby law firm. Mr. Garcia decided to call the Busby law firm and report the conduct. Despite her efforts in disguising the identities of those she was working for, investigator Jessica Santiago was caught on tape disclosing to Mr. Garcia that she was working for an attorney named Marcy Croft at the law firm MJ Legal PA. Defendant Marcy Croft is an attorney in Jackson, Mississippi. Defendant MJ Legal is the law firm Ms. Croft purportedly owns. Ms. Croft advertises herself as a member of Team Rock. Moreover, Ms. Croft advertises that she has become, quote, actively involved with criminal justice reform and prison reform alongside Rock Nation's philanthropic arm, Team Rock. She further advertises herself as being involved in numerous litigation actions pending on behalf of Team Rock, families, and hundreds of incarcerated men. Marcy Croft has worked with Rock Nation for years alongside Quinn Emanuel, Alex Spiro. Spiro and Quinn Emanuel are currently opposing the Busby law firm in at least 2 cases. So they want to get them for solicitation under Texas Penal Code Section 38.12 for all the defendants and a civil conspiracy. And they're asking for punitive damages. And yeah, that is what was filed. So Busby is saying because Jay-Z got named in the lawsuit, some investigators were called out. Maybe Tory need to go ahead and contact Busby or something, because apparently Busby's saying he got some information. He did attach some transcripts, so there were some recordings of these conversations and some allegations that some money was exchanged. Let me see. One of these. Share my screen. So this was one of the transcripts from Jessica Santiago. So she said, do you have time today so we can have an appointment to talk and show you the papers? You can communicate with the lawyer. She was like, the client said yes. And then she said, what time? The client said, look at 5 p.m. One thing, if I sign that contract, is there some money that you will pay me first? And then the PI said, depends on the lawyer, but what you will sign today is only a contract to investigate, giving permission to the lawyer to conduct an investigation into your case. to see what happened and to recommend a separate lawyer more familiar with your kind of case. But she will not charge anything. And the separate lawyer also does not require any money. Only at the conclusion do they take out their fee if they are able to recover the money you are entitled to. So it's a contingency type of situation. So it sounds like they really just wanted her to allow them, like, sign some type of release so they can probably get her file from Busby to look through it. And then the client said that lawyer is from the state or a private lawyer. So then the investigator said, oh, it's a private lawyer. We are from the state, but it's a private lawyer that know what the Busby law firm was doing. For example, last night, someone signed up with us, and in his case, Busby was depositing his checks in Busby's private account and not in an account for lawyers. And he was charging the interest and taking that money. That was one of the cases we went over already against Busby. And he was stealing the checks from insurance. And so he didn't know that Busby was stealing. That was his case. Now, I don't know much about your case, but the lawyer you will speak with today, she will explain, she will open your case, see what happened with you. But your name appeared on the list of people that may have something unusual, and she wants to investigate your case, and then she will recommend someone more familiar in your kind of case to recover all that money. So the client said, and they are from the state, and the private investigator said the lawyer is from here, Texas, and also is licensed in New York. Us, the investigators, are from the state, but we are not lawyers. But the lawyer has her license here in Texas and also in New York. The client said that class action is just for certain people who have had cases with the lawyer, bad cases with the lawyer, or had cases with the lawyer. And the PI said, exactly, with that lawyer, we have 70 people in the class action that had problems because they are frauds with that lawyer Busby. Last night, the man who we spoke with, he has 2 cases because Busby was putting his checks in the private checking account. That's a criminal case. But he also has a separate case where he can recover the fees that Busby owes him. So he has 2 cases. We didn't know that until the lawyer just explained and told him, no, you have 2 cases, one criminal, another recover your money. Now, we don't know about your case because the lawyer first needs to open your case and investigate what happened with you. So it's possible you have 2 cases as well, depending on what the Busby did to you. Then the client said, and so if I sign, there's money, right? Like, how much I'm going to get for all of this? That's all the client care about is getting money. The PI said, there's money that will be recovered, of course. The money that you are owed, and you will not need to go to court because there are lots of people in the class action, more than 70 people who have signed up with the lawyer. And the client said, what's the process? To look at some documents first, or do I need to go with the lawyer? And the PI said, no, she will be your lawyer. That's why we are asking for the documents that you have. If you don't have any, she can still do her search and she will read your case that you had with Busby, and she will look into everything that happened, but it's better if you have documents too. So the client said, no, well, I lost all my documentation. This happened a long time ago, so I wouldn't have those documents now, but do I need to go to the lawyer's office, or will you come to my house? So the PI said, I'll send you the paper that explains where the lawyer is. It will explain everything in that paper. You can read it. Then I can contact the lawyer. Her name is Marcy Croft from MJ Legal. So that's how her name got in it. And she will explain more about telephone. But the document will explain what I have just told you know over the phone, and you will have your copy. It's just an agreement so she can investigate more of your case to see if there is something unusual, and if so, she will recommend someone more familiar with your case, because you know there are many lawyers, but she will recommend someone who is more known with the case, like from last night. Will you charge me anything? That's from the client. No, nothing. The lawyer who will have your case, yes, of course, like always, they always charge a fee. Normally, the lawyer charges 30%. Whichever lawyer you go to, they will charge you, yes. But the lawyer, she will not charge anything at first. She works with us in fraud cases, and then she will recommend someone more familiar. Then at the conclusion of the case, they will charge their part and also pay your part as well. Pay you your part as well. Those papers, can you leave them at my house, or do you want me to go to the office? The PI said, no, that's why I'm asking what time you will be home so we can show you the paper and explain, and we can speak with the lawyer. The client says, so the agreement, I can see it? And then the PI said, the agreement, yes. And the client said, and so this is a class action, a lawsuit of many people. The PI said, exactly. We have 70 people that are in the class action. There will be more. You are on the list, but we have other people too. Today I'm visiting with you and with 3 more people who will sign up to be in the lawsuit and will increase daily. We have more pages with people. I don't know how many, but there are many. And if there are more people in the class action, that is better for you because that means you will collect something. And the client said, what kind of percentage can I collect with this? Or what can I? And the PI said, it depends on your case because all the cases are different. The document I will show you today explain that gives you permission to open your case and to see what happened, but she will not charge anything for that, but then she will recommend someone familiar. Client says, sorry to interrupt. The lawyer will be present today or just you. PI said, me and my partner, but she is working now, but she told me we can contact her at any time. So the client said, okay, 5:30 fine? Yes, 5:30 is fine. Any change and we will call each other. True? And what is the name of the lawyer, pardon? Marcy Croft. Okay. From MJ Legal. Okay. I will give you a copy. You can read it good and you can call her too with us present and she can explain it better. And the client said, and your name? And she said, me? Oh, my name's Jessica. Client said, Jessica? Yes, Jessica. She said, no, Jessica Santiago. Okay, and Dale. So I will look at everything at 5:30 and we will be in contact. Very kind, thank you. Okay, Geraldo, thank you. And you know what Geraldo did when they left? He picked up the phone and was like, Busby, they trying to get you, bro. I don't know what you did to these people, but they mad at you after he was like, well, what kind of money I'm gonna get, looking like he's interested. And then he immediately called Busby and told him they came to his house and they're trying to solicit him to try to do bad press, basically. So then they have an affidavit from someone else that was also attached to this. You said the client sounds annoying. Miss ATLian said, Pam, what a surprise. Hey, how have you been? Good to see you on here. I appreciate the support. Here's an affidavit. It has affidavit of Skylar Taylor. This instrument was acknowledged before me. Okay, let's go with what she said. She said, I'm an adult resident of the state of Louisiana of sound mind and capable in all respects of executing this affidavit. The information contained is made upon my personal knowledge. 3 men from New York area visited my grandmother's home on multiple occasions, showing up unannounced, demanding to speak with me. I did not know these men and had not solicited them. When I spoke with these men, they stated they were investigators hired by an attorney to contact clients of the Busby law firm to join a class action against the Busby law firm. They refused to provide any further information on who they were, what investigation company they worked for, or what attorney hired them. Without knowing any of the details of my case, these men attempted to convince me to file a lawsuit against my attorneys at the Busby law firm. These men offered me money to sign on as a client with them. These men stated that they and or their attorney that hired them paid a former client of the Busby law firm $1,000 to sign on with them as a client and sue the Busby law firm. The above and foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. So that's another client that is saying that she was solicited by some men, and they said they was from New York and they went all the way to Louisiana, where she lived at. So then they have another affidavit from, let me see. This is from Shannon. She said 3 men from New York area visit her home on multiple occasions, showing up unannounced and demanding to speak with me. I did not know these men and had not solicited them. When I spoke with these men, they stated they were investigators hired by an attorney to contact clients of the Busby law firm to join a class action against the Busby law firm. They refused to provide any further information on who they were, what investigation company they worked for, or what attorney hired them. Without knowing any of the details of my case, these men attempted to convince me to file a lawsuit against my attorney at the Busby law firm. These men offered me money to sign on a client with them. Specifically, they offered me $10,000 in exchange for signing with them as a client. Sheesh. So she's going to testify she was off for $10,000. Okay. So this is the back and forth that's been going on with. So that's why I said, shoot, Tory people might want to go ahead and call them over there at Busby, because apparently Busby law firm is going hard against Rock Nation, talking about their alleged tactics. Said no offer was made. Technically, no. In the first transcript that was read, I mean the wording, I didn't take it as the PI was saying that I am work for the state. I thought the client was saying, what state are they in? And they said, we work here in this state, which means in most states, in order to do PI work, you do have to have a license. So if they're a license of that state, then I don't think they're necessarily saying they're a state agent. So I think that was a bit of a stretch. Now, going out soliciting people because they got a list, looks like they may have. When you've done cases in certain courts, you can put an attorney's name in the search and all their cases will pop up. And when that occurs, it looks like they were just going through certain cases, and it may be state by state because some reason they're in Louisiana. So Busby must practice in federal court or other courts around the country, because they were able to find he's licensed mainly based in Texas, but they've been able to find it in different places. And the lawsuits that I read were from Louisiana. So it sounds like that's what they did. I think the state actor part just sounded a little bit of a stretch to me. But you guys can tell me what you think. Do you think that they were saying they were a state agent, like working for the state of Texas, or were they just saying, hey, we're from here. We're from this state. We're actually licensed to work here, but the attorneys are from other states and they're licensed to practice in Texas as well, or whatever. Or the attorneys that'll be working on your case will be able to practice wherever they file at. Yeah, in some states you do need a license. In Michigan, you need a license to be a PI. Some states, they don't make you be they have, or you can have in Michigan, if you're under an attorney, like a law firm for 3 years, you can become a PI. If you work under a law firm for that. But you have license numbers and everything to be a private investigator. Impress said, I don't know what's legal, but I know it's messy. You said a lay person wouldn't know the difference. Well, we have to see, like, how did he, well, now we know, since Busby is representing this guy, I think we know how he would define it. But it would have been interesting to know what he thought they meant by, do you work for the state? Did they mean you actually work for the state of Texas, or, but it sounds like a lot of these people came from New York, is what it sounds like based on these affidavits. Now, these affidavits saying people offer them money is crazy. They're offering them $10,000 is a lot. But again, these are all allegations. We don't know what's true and what's not. Then they got a transcript. This was a telephone conversation. And it has, I'm not about to read all this, but So speaker one said, I heard you was looking for me. Here I go. Okay, they didn't say here I go, but they said, I heard you were looking for me. Speaker two said, hello. Thank you so much for calling me back. Yes, absolutely. I'm actually in the car and you're on speaker. I have my partners with me. We wanted to actually talk to you regarding the case that you have. I know that you got hurt on the boat, and there's something called the Jones Act. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. It would take 2 minutes of your time to answer my questions, and it might be very beneficial for you to speak with. Let me ask you something else. Is your case still active? And speaker one said, I prefer not to answer questions, but I'll hear you out. Speaker one, like, I don't even know you. Why are you asking me these questions? So speaker two said, okay, you don't need to answer that question. Let me ask you. Speaker three said, David, good morning. Hey, my name is Joe. If I may, is there a place where we could meet up? Any place you like where we can sit down and talk? You can listen to it. And if you don't like what we have to say, you can say, quote, I don't want to cooperate, end quote, and then walk away. And that's it. No harm, no foul. Speaker one said, no, I don't. I don't do meetups with nobody that I don't know, especially from out of state. So speaker three said, okay, no worries, no worries. If you don't feel comfortable talking to us, that's fine. Speaker one jumps back in. Well, that's I can talk to you over the phone. I can hear what you got to say over the phone. So speaker three said, okay, so here's the scenario. When you were out with your lawsuit, right? Were you still getting paid from the company that you got hurt from? Speaker one said, like I said, I don't answer questions. Speaker three said, all right. So the speaker two said, Joe. They didn't know what it was in. They can't tell. They couldn't transcribe it. Speaker three said, yeah. Speaker two said, we can do a conference. Speaker three said, I know, but speaker one said, yeah. They were all talking over each other. That's what was happening right here. Speaker three said, all right, so I'm going to give you a scenario. We went to a guy yesterday who, same as you, got hurt on a boat, and that happened. What happened was his lawyer, due to this act, this Jones Act, he was supposed to get paid, right, from the company. And the lawyer said, no, don't pay him. Pay me, and I'll pay him. So that's the arrangement he had with the company. But the thing is, though, he never paid this kid, okay? On top of that, he ended up getting like something like 42% of the inquiry. So this guy should have gotten $1 million. He ended up getting, how much did you get? And speaker two said $80,000. Oh, he said, how much did he get? And speaker two came in and said 80,000. So he's talking about this guy ended up getting 80K, but he should have got $1 million. So speaker three said at the end of the day, he got 80,000 for, and he only has 3 slip discs. I mean, three discs that are normal. Everything else is messed up in his back. So there's a few things that happen here. Okay. The speaker one said, So speaker three said, we need you to cooperate with us and start talking to us about what had happened in his story. And he has given a stipend. He was given a stipend because we're going to be, and you all, I can tell you is, if I may ask, who is your lawyer? Speaker one said, wait, what's that? Speaker three said, who is your lawyer? Then the speaker one said, like I said, I don't answer questions, but I'll hear what you got to say. And then speaker three said, okay. So he just happened to have this lawyer. His last name is Busby. And Busby, apparently there's a couple of lawsuits coming down where he was allegedly taking money off the top and not paying his clients. So speaker one said, okay. So then speaker three said, in a couple of days or maybe by next week, anyone Googling Busby and his company, his practice, you're going to see some of these lawyers are are going to be going into litigation, okay? What we're trying to do is we're trying to put this thing together for the company that we're working for at this. And if you have a case, we could get you paid, and money could get money right soon, you know? We gave this kid $1,000 to start yesterday just to get him on the right path. Yeah, so speaker one said, okay, let me ask you a question. Speaker three said, at the end of the day, I appreciate your question. Just hold that thought for a second. At the end of the day, this is going to go through the courts. Busby is getting sued, and eventually people are going to get paid out. Now, it's up to you if you want to be a part of it. And that was the end of the audio. Oh, that was just the transcriptions. But I don't think that attorney, it seems like that investigator didn't know what to do with that client. He was like, I'm not talking. I'm not answering any of your questions. Don't ask me who my lawyer is. They knew who his lawyer was, because whoever these people were, because they probably looked and compiled a list of all his lawyers, because you just ain't randomly pick somebody. So that's that. That's the lawsuit from Busby. Don't give any info to unknown people who could be scammers. Good for speaker one. Yes, that's from Course Correction. It's on the top left corner if you were able to install those new update announce the recordings. Oh, you guys weren't talking to me, I guess. Oh yeah, somebody did. I know what you're talking about. That when you can record, it'll say recording now. Yeah, iPhone has the recorder now. Yeah, they do. That's in the new updates. So that's it, y'all. That's the update. Of course, I've been on way longer than I planned on because I wasn't going to go over that second one. Y'all got any other questions? All minds clear? Huh? Make sure you hit the like button for me on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you for the almost 1,300 that joined me today. Tory Lanez definitely needs to connect with Busby. That's some cocoa cream. Okay. What else y'all got? What else y'all got? Let me see. Is say something. Yeah. I don't have it on here. How much money does Tory have? He always paying people. He gonna run out of funds. Well, he got the nonprofit helping them now, Unite the People. As you guys see, they represent Milagro in the defamation suit that was filed against her by Meg Thee Stallion. Very interesting motion to dismiss. Depending on how the legal news cycle go, we may go over it because I did go over the complaint. So I think it's only fair to go over the motion to dismiss. But she also amended it as well. And I didn't go over the amendment because, I mean, the legal stuff is just happening so fast. I didn't see it. Can you type it again, Mox? I'll look up and see if I can find it. Your earlier comments. Let me see if I can find it. Queen E said in New York and New Jersey, you got to be licensed and bonded. I think it's a lot greater than Busby is claiming. Okay. Yeah, I can't find it. If you retype it, let me see if you retyped it. Did you see Tory Lanez filed a complaint against Shy Holly because her connection to Rock Nation? I didn't see a complaint. Did I see a complaint? I did see. I saw it added somewhere in the appellate process, maybe, but I'm not sure if I saw an actual just personal complaint against her. I'm not sure. If you have that, email or DM it to me. But I feel like I know about that, but I don't know if it was an actual complaint, if he filed it in the courts or if he just mentioned to add that in like one of his habeas petitions or his appellate petition. But that's it. Happy birthday to your grandson, Lisa Jones. You said he is connected to the opposition side of the Blake Lively. Really? I think I have that case too. I haven't read it yet, though, that lawsuit. I don't know all of the intricacies of that. If you guys are interested in that case, then I'll definitely read it and maybe we can go over it over the weekend. All right, y'all. It's getting darker and darker in here. I'm about to get out of here. Again, thank you guys so much for supporting. I appreciate all of the love. Let's put Dre up before we...
Another thing you notice, the first thing they say, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. That's what it's all about. After they get them dogging you out, before they dog you out, that's the first thing they say. If you like this video, make sure you hit.
You have 1 minute remaining.
That is from our boy Dre. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Until next time, I'm going to holler at you later.